Hyperlight Breaker is being developed by Heart Machine and published by Arc Games and is currently in early access on Steam, and I want to give a special thank you to them for providing me with the code to play the game. Hyperlight Breaker is based within the Hyperlight Drifter game universe. Now, I have not played Hyperlight Drifter, but it is on my watch list, and obviously inside the pile of the backlog of games that I have as well as everybody else. But Hyperlight Breaker is a mashup of roguelike and extraction shooter gameplay, combining many different elements from each one and sort of like into a melding pot, which at the moment doesn't feel quite balanced, but I'll get into that. Now, the gameplay involves you entering a randomly generated open world from the main hub, and it has different styles and biomes, and you can utilise a pretty cool array of movement options from getting around the open world, of course from running, but also gliding. You can do a bit of wall running, and you can get around via hoverboard, although at the moment, unfortunately, as soon as you're within X amount of distance to an enemy, the hoverboard naffs off, which isn't really ideal if you want to make a quick getaway. Now, of course, you go around fighting enemies and bosses and collecting loot and resources to get better weapons and equipment, and then you just got to basically extract and get out of there, but also utilising the same mechanic that's in Risk of Rain. The longer you spend within a level, the more difficult the level is going to get, and because the levels are pretty big, it can get pretty difficult pretty quickly. But also, in true extraction shooter style, if you die and use up your respawns, you lose all your shit, effectively, your cool weapons that you had. Now, you do get given basic bitch weapons if you lose everything, but it does suck that that's a thing these days in game. I mean, I know that there's Tarkov and other such games that have the mechanic, and that's absolutely cool if you want to play that. I used to play a lot of Tarkov a couple of years ago, but I don't go into that no more. I just find it too stressful. Now, here with Hyperlight Breaker, you can play cooperatively, so you can play with friends, which is pretty cool. I haven't, but the option is definitely there. The resources you find and collect can also be used to upgrade the hub, which is, like I mentioned earlier, where you run around, but you also talk to NPCs and vendors. It's pretty bare bones and hollow at the moment, and it's just a place for you to just set up before you head out for another run. But I mean, there's room for improvement, and the game is in early access, so hopefully they give it a little bit more life than it already has. The game does have some really good ideas, but unfortunately, in my opinion, they need to choose either roguelike or extraction shooter, or create two different game modes, because the ideas do clash on occasion, and it pretty much breaks the roguelike feeling, because in extraction shooters, there's more of an emphasis on surviving, living, and getting out of there, because you'll lose all your stuff, of course. But I do know that does happen in some roguelikes. Like, I know when you die in Hades, that you lose progress, but to a point, you don't lose all progress. Every run, you would unlock something new, and you don't lose your weapons and whatnot. The same goes for Dead Cells, and although when you die, you do lose the weapon you was using in Dead Cells, that weapon will crop up again, and the more and more you play these games, if you've played them, you should know in Hades and Dead Cells, for example, that the more you play the game, you will consistently keep moving forward, you will consistently keep progressing. But in extraction shooters, once you've lost your shit, you've lost your shit. And especially if you've got no money to buy better stuff or anything, you are, again, scraping the bottom of the barrel. And sometimes that's just not fun. Plus, Hyperlight Breaker is a lot slower paced in gameplay compared to Hades and Dead Cells as well. So it can be really frustrating, because the combat is fine in Hyperlight Breaker. It's a little jank at the moment, and the parry system is like literally hit or miss, because when you parry, you can also regain a little bit of health or armor or whatnot as well. So it's serviceable at the minute, but for me, the enemies, they deal far too much damage in my opinion. The game is brutal to new players, and I got my ass kicked a hell of a lot. There's also far too many currencies for me personally. Just one currency would be better, makes things less messy. There is so many, and to keep track of them all and what they all do, it's just far too much. Hyperlight Breaker has the potential and can be a good roguelike game if it chooses to go down that route, but in its current state, it's just unfortunately not that fun to play. It feels very unbalanced, and it's just soul crushingly difficult at times. Like I said, I appreciate the devs giving me a code, and again, thank you to them. I will keep playing the game and seeing how it progresses through its early access. But for you guys, I have to kind of insist that you really wait for full release of the game and hope the game has been tweaked to become just a tad more fun when it's finally released. It's one to definitely keep your eye on, but in its current state, it's just very rough around the edges. But please let me know what you think down below, and thank you very much for watching.